This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should, too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Angie just returned from an 8-night cruise on Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Panorama out of Long Beach, California, and she joins us on the line. How you doing, Angie?
Hi, Doug. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Now, I remember a couple of years ago, you sailed your very first Carnival cruise, and it was also on Carnival Panorama, so I'm excited to kind of get your thoughts on the current state of Carnival Cruise Line. But before we do that, we're going to take a step back here. Give me some pre-cruise thoughts. You're up in the Northwest. You had to get down to Long Beach. What made you want to take this 8-night cruise? Because if I'm not mistaken, this ship really only, historically, it has done 7 nights, right?
Yeah, I think they've kind of rotate through a couple different 7 and 6 night itineraries. But they now have this 8-night itinerary that they do occasionally that has the additional port of La Paz. And the other reason that I chose this itinerary was most of the 7-night itineraries, they sailed down to Puerto Vallarta first. So you have 2 sea days, then you have Puerto Vallarta, and you start coming back up the coast. This one, we sailed to Cabo first. And the 7-night itinerary, when you do that, Cabo's the last port, and it's only a half day. They get there like 6:30 in the morning. I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning to get off the ship. I don't know about you. But then you have to be back on the ship at like 1 o'clock, and then you steam your way back up to Long Beach, which is gives you very little time in Cabo, right?
Yeah.
On this itinerary, they did Cabo first, and we had a full day, in each port. So that was another reason why I chose this itinerary.
Did you have any issues getting into LAX for the cruise?
Not at all. We actually did not fly into LAX. We flew out of a regional airport, which is near. I live in the northern suburbs, so if people are familiar with Seattle, we live in Snohomish County, which is just north of Seattle, and we have a regional airport in Snohomish County, which is called Payne Field, or I think it's also called the Snohomish County Airport. It also has another fancy name talking about Seattle International such and such. I don't know. So we flew out of Payne Field and we flew into Santa Ana instead of LAX, which is a big reason why we choose a lot of times to sail out of the West Coast versus the East Coast, because we can't fly to the East Coast from Payne Field.
So you make your way down to LA. Any pre-cruise time there?
Yeah, we flew down the day before, and like I said, we came into Santa Ana Airport. If you're flying to Long Beach, you kind of have the choice of LAX. There is a Long Beach airport. We don't have any flights that we could take from Payne Field to Long Beach, so we didn't do that one. But we kind of like to fly into Santa Ana instead of LAX because it's a regional airport that's a little bit smaller and not as overwhelming. We just took an Uber and we went to the hotel. We stayed at the Hotel Maya, which is a popular hotel for cruisers because if you're familiar with the Long Beach kind of area, there's the cruise port, and then there's the Queen Mary, and then just right down the way, there's the Hotel Maya. So it's probably the hotel that's the closest to the cruise port, and they have a shuttle in the morning that'll take you to the ship and stuff.
I like that area. That hotel's very pricey, though.
It is. I got a good deal on Hotwire. So I paid, I think, $189 plus taxes. So it wasn't too bad. And with the convenience of having the shuttle and everything, I think it was worth it. The one thing I will say about when you're at that hotel, you're there's nothing else around there. There's like no restaurants you could walk to or anything. So we ate in the hotel's restaurant because we were feeling kind of lazy. And the hotel's restaurant is kind of expensive, but the food portions are enormous. So like you could definitely share. Like my husband ordered a sandwich for lunch that probably 2 or 3 people could have eaten. And there is, in Long Beach, they do have what they call the Passport Bus, which is a free bus. I think it's only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that will take you all around Long Beach. So if you didn't want to eat at the hotel, we could have taken the Passport Bus and gone around to, a couple other areas that have restaurants. We were feeling extremely lazy, so we did not do that. But other people that we talked to in the hotel did do that, and they said it was really easy, and there were like more restaurant options. I think if I did this hotel again, I would probably just plan ahead not to order as much food, which sounds dumb, but when you go into a place for the first time, you just kind of order what you're used to ordering. And it was like a big portions of food.
It's a good tip there. So you make your way to the cruise terminal. How was the embarkation for Carnival Panorama, and how long did it take you from the curb to the ship?
So one thing to know about this port is there's only one ship, and the pulling in, the driving in and driving out and everything, everybody is embarking and debarking at the same time in the morning. And so it's a total cluster. So that was one of the benefits of staying at the Hotel Maya is they have a shuttle, and I don't know how he did this, but somehow he drove a different way or something, and he did not have to drive through the big cluster. So that was one good thing. So we got in the little shuttle at the hotel. We drove over with him. He let us out, and we did have a check-in time. Carnival will give you a check-in time as early as I think 10 or 10:30. So we had a check-in time of 10:30, but we didn't even go over until after 11 because there's no point in they don't let you on the ship at 10:30, right? So we got there at I think 11:15. We checked in and everything. Everything was smooth. I mean, there's lines, but everything kind of flowed. We probably sat in the waiting area for 5 to 10 minutes before they called our group. I think they were starting to board the ship right around the time that we sat down. So it all went pretty well. I think from curb to ship was probably about 45 minutes total.
Okay.
But most of that time we were moving. There wasn't a huge backup or anything. It's just a big ship, and there's a lot of guests. So
now this was your second time on Panorama, as we mentioned earlier. But what were your first impressions the second time around?
So yeah, like you said, we have been on the ship before. So we were kind of looking forward to, and we purposely booked this exact ship again because we like the ship. So we were looking forward to what we were going to do and finding our favorite spots and all that kind of stuff. So we were excited about that. Just kind of, they have you come in the atrium area, which is in this ship, just kind of a bright white, light area. And they have one of those kind of, instead of a chandelier or artwork, they have a screen, if that makes sense, that shows different things on it. So that's always kind of fun to see.
Yeah,
and then we went straight to we did our muster thing. So they're still doing the muster where you individually just go to your muster station when you board. Mm-hmm. So we did that right away. And then we went to the Pig and Anchor because they do a free barbecue lunch on embarkation and sea days. So
did you have to wait until 1:30 for the rooms to open up?
There's no announcement or anything. I think everybody has to. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% sure, but the last time we were on the ship, we tried to go to our room early, and they didn't even have the doors to the hallways and stuff open. Mm-hmm. So this time we didn't even try. We just I just kind of timed it out so that that was another reason there's no reason to get to the ship too early, right? Sure. So we just kind of leisurely sat and ate our barbecue lunch. And my husband also, he does not drink. Mm-hmm. So he ordered a virgin Bloody Mary. He likes those. So he enjoyed that. And we just kind of sat around and sort of slowly made our way to our room. And by the time we did make our way to the room, it was open, but it was after 1:30.
Did you get the Bloody Mary and Guy's Pig and Anchor there? Yeah,
he was excited because it has bacon on it and stuff.
Yeah, so good. So what kind of stateroom did you book for this 8-night cruise, and how was it through your voyage?
We booked the Deluxe Ocean View. These are cabins that we really like, so that was another reason why we chose to cruise on this ship again. We go back and forth between interiors and ocean views and balconies. We've done all three. I really don't like interiors because I really miss the natural light, and I don't really care that much about balconies to pay extra for it. So the Deluxe Ocean View is perfect for us because we get the natural light. These cabins in particular are really big. I think the way the ship is laid out, these Deluxe Ocean Views are only on deck 1, and I believe that they're directly underneath where the balconies are on the upper decks. So the square footage that you would have on your balcony cabin on the upper deck, you have inside your room in the ocean view. So they're big. It's almost as big as a regular hotel room. So for it's just the two of us. We don't have kids or anybody else traveling all this, but it's still nice to have that. extra space to kind of move around. You don't have to do that little dance where like one of you has to move around the bed so the other one can move around. And there's a sofa in there which can become a bed, I think, because the back cushions are not attached. Also the other big feature that we love about these cabins is there's an extra shower room. So there's 2 showers. The extra shower room just has a shower and a sink. And it's very small. It's like the shower itself actually has a tub. It's not as long as a tub you'd have in your house, but it is as wide and it's very deep. So like if you wanted to take a bath, I think you could, unless you were like a very large person. But if you had kids or something, we didn't take any baths, but it makes it a little bit bigger than the normal cruise showers that you get. So I took that one over, and that's where I took my showers. And then he took his showers in the other one. So it was really nice because then we can take a shower at the same time when we're getting ready in the morning. The only kind of downside that we noted about these cabins is there's no plugs or drawers on the nightstand. So you can't like plug in your phone at night by your bed. But there were plenty of plugs, and I always have all my gear, my little chargers and things. So I can set it up so we can charge all of our devices on the, there's like a desk vanity type thing. So yeah, we love these cabins. That was really a big reason why we decided to go. We were kind of looking at maybe going back on Princess as well for this trip. And Princess, I can't even remember now which ship I was looking at, but they also had ocean view cabins, but their ocean view cabins were much smaller. So this is a big reason why we chose to go back on the ship, was this cabin.
Well, let's talk about the food on Carnival Panorama. We'll start at the Lido Marketplace up there on Deck 9. So how was the food, the selections, and did it ever get really crowded throughout the 8 days?
I do not like the buffet on this ship. So we didn't eat there. We ate there sometimes for breakfast, but that was it. So I don't really know if it was crowded or not. I just don't like the food offerings that they have for lunch or dinner, so we just kind of avoid it. We do sometimes sit in the seating there, and the seating was never, I mean, it gets pretty full at meal times, but there's never a problem finding a table. But the food itself there, the last time we sailed on the ship, this was one of my negatives, and so this time I just avoided it altogether other than breakfast.
Did it ever get too crowded at breakfast time? Because I know that sometimes, like on port mornings, everyone goes to the buffet at one time.
I realized the last time I cruised, because I cruised with my sister and she had a totally different perspective on crowds. I am highly tolerant of crowds, it turns out. Like, so it probably was crowded according to some people. But for me, like, you know, Colin and I live in a big city and we're used to like going to a coffee shop and having to scan for a table and grab one as soon as someone gets up and stuff like that. So for me, it wasn't a problem. We always found a table, but sometimes you did have to kind of look for one for a while. And maybe we didn't get the exact table that we would have wanted by the window and all that stuff. But we didn't really, there's plenty of seating. I think this ship does a pretty good job. At one point, the cruise director said it was a full ship and there were over 4,200 guests. And I think the ship does a pretty good job of making enough space for all those 4,200 folks.
How about outside by the pool, Guy's Burger Joint and Blue Iguana Cantina? Yeah,
we did do Guy's Burgers, which is always really good. And I got to tell you, I don't even eat burgers on other cruises, but Guy's Burgers are always good. Blue Iguana, we did do the breakfast burritos a couple of times. The only weird thing there was one day we had some cheese there that was kind of weird. Like, I think they may have used like Parmesan cheese or something. It just didn't quite taste like the cheese you would normally have on the burrito. But anyway, it was fine. It was good.
And then the main dining room. What time dining did you have, and how was your experience down there?
We did, we always do your time dining. And our experience was overall pretty good in the main dining room. I really like how on this ship, so if we compare it to like Holland America or the old days of when we used to cruise on Princess, we have a cruise on Princess since before the pandemic, so I don't know if it's changed. But a lot of times in those environments, you would end up in a more formal environment and you would be sitting with other people and all that kind of stuff. On this ship, the way they have the tables arranged, the tables are like in groupings. So me and my husband have our own table, but there are other tables close by, right? So you kind of are eating with other people, but you're kind of not. And I really like how they do that because I kind of like the convivial environment of like chatting with other people at dinner, but it doesn't slow down. Like if they're ordering 13 appetizers or whatever, it doesn't slow down your service. Like me and my husband are having our own meal together with our own service, right? So I really like that environment. I like how they do little song and dance numbers. I know some people complain about that, but I think it's cute. The food across the board was pretty good. My husband ordered, they had some like Emerald's specials every night. And he ordered those a lot and he thought they were really good. I did have a steak one night that wasn't very good. And the steak that I had was like this strip loin that they have every night on the menu. And the lady at the table next to me had it too. And she said hers wasn't good either. It was like almost inedible. And it was weird because then we remembered that my husband ordered it last time and it wasn't good then either. So I don't know what's going on with these strip loins. But otherwise, the food was all really good. And my husband wanted to point out too that he's diabetic. So he always orders the sugar-free desserts. And the sugar-free desserts that they had this time, he said were better than, what he's had on other cruises in the past. So he was really happy with that.
I guess that is probably a lower quality of meat, maybe? Why the steaks are just a little subpar these days?
They're like gristly and like, to me, it's weird because they were huge. It was like this huge strip loin, but it was really gristly. And I think I always order my steak medium rare. And I think like one end of it was well done and the other end was like almost rare. I don't know what happened. And the lady sitting next to me was like, you're sitting really close to people so you know what's going on with them. Hers was almost the exact same problems. And I just thought to myself, like, okay, I get it that like Carnival, it's a more affordable cruise line. That's fine. So just don't serve that strip loin. Like I did not complain to them. I didn't say anything to them. And I know that they would have brought me something else or fixed it for me if I would have. But, you're eating so much food at dinner. Like I also had like soup and all the sides that came with the steak and dessert. And all of those things were perfectly good. Oh, and the bread, So I didn't say anything. So I did not give them a chance to make it right. But it was just weird that every single time that we've seen this strip loin, it hasn't been any good.
Did you do any specialty venues on your 8 nights?
Yeah, we did. So one of the great features of this ship is, and I know this is something Carnival's doing overall, is almost all the specialty dining restaurants have a complimentary lunch option. So we did a few of those. We did the Pig and Anchor barbecue lunch a couple times. Which is kind of like a lunch buffet, but it's served cafeteria style. And I think they have almost everything on that buffet that they have on their menu for nighttime. There's a few things that they didn't have, but mostly they had everything. So we did that a couple times. That was really good. We did the Cucina del Capitano. We did their lunch, which was like a pasta. You go in and they have a paper and you kind of tell them what you want on your pasta and whether or not you want a salad with it and stuff. Well, I don't know if you count C-Day brunch. C-Day brunch isn't really specialty, but it is kind of a special thing. That one we had issues with. So we were sitting in like a grouping with two other couples and like almost everybody, almost every table had problems with their eggs. like the guy next to me had ordered sunny side up and they were like basically raw.
Jeez.
My husband had ordered a Benedict and the eggs were like hard boiled. So we kept having to send eggs back. It became almost like comical, but in that case, we did complain and we did get a resolution and he got some eggs that were cooked much better. And then you had asked about specialty dining, we did do the steakhouse at night too. And that was really good. That was a fun experience because that's more like a fine dining experience. Like, just the atmosphere of the room is really nice. My husband ordered some kind of oyster appetizer and they brought it out with like the glass cloche over it and there was smoke and they raised up the cloche and there was smoke everywhere and just like the drama of all of that.
The fire and ice, right? fire and ice oysters or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called,
Yeah.
but something like that. And he said there was like a smoked flavor to it as well. You know, the steaks there were perfect. They were really, really good. The desserts were good. He had some kind of fruit plate, but it was like an upscale. It was like he orders a fruit plate a lot too. And in the steakhouse, it was like an upscale fruit plate. Like it had different fruit than the dining room fruit plate, and it had like a sorbet that came with it and stuff. So I would say that was, worth the extra 50, I think it's 52 that we paid just for that extra experience and stuff.
Any other food we may have missed? I guess like pizza at nighttime?
We did do the pizza. I did leave that off my list. The pizza was really nice. I think there were a couple days that we came in from port at like an awkward time, like maybe 4:30, when it wasn't time for dinner yet, but it was too late for lunch. And we grabbed pizza, and the pizza was really good. They changed the pizza. Apparently, the pizza used to be up until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and now it closes at midnight. And then they also do this midnight. I hesitate to call it a midnight buffet because I know that kind of has a meaning in the cruising world that this was not. It was more like they called it late night snack or something. It was in the buffet area, but it just had like a few things. Like there was like chicken strips and or chicken nuggets of some kind that my husband kept getting. And they had pizza there, but it was like sheet pan pizza. It wasn't the same pizza that they serve in the pizza place. And like a few other things. But so my husband is diabetic and he has to eat frequently. So he really appreciated that late night snack buffet thing. Because he would go down there and eat, something before bed. All
right. So let's talk about the entertainment on this 8-night cruise. How did it stack up for y'all?
Okay, so this we were pleasantly surprised because the last time we were on the Panorama, we saw a couple shows that we didn't really love. And in general, the shows on cruise ships tend to be a little bit overly corny in our experience, right? But we saw 2 shows on this cruise that we really liked a lot. And one of them is, I think it's a new show. At least they didn't have it last time. It's called Soulbound. And it was based in New Orleans. It was kind of like, I think they were like witches and vampires or something. I think they reanimated a zombie at one point. But so it was all like dark and like spooky and really good costumes, really good sets. The set is kind of a little bit of set dressing and then a screen. And so the screen is also showing, background images and things like that. We really like that show. And the music to that show is like soul music. And when I saw the advertising for the show, I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But there's really it turns out there's really a lot of soul music that deals with like the dark side of the soul or whatever. So it was actually a really good show. Like on paper, it sounds really weird, but it was actually a really good show. And one thing I thought was really good about this show was like, they weren't even trying, in my opinion, to have any kind of plot. If there was any kind of plot, I have no idea what it was. It was just singing, just singing all these songs and fun costumes and all that kind of stuff. And the other show we saw was Celestial Strings, which I think has been on Carnival for a while because I think it was on our last sailing and we just didn't go to it. But my husband really liked that one a lot. That's more of a light, like everyone's wearing white and like, I don't know if they were supposed to be sort of angelic or something. I really couldn't tell you what it was supposed to be about. But again, the songs and just the costumes, that one, they also have the string trio that plays around the ship as a part of the show. So they were really good. And something they did for both of these shows that I thought was really cool was so the theater there is the Liquid Lounge, right? So they have the floor of that theater doesn't have fixed seats. It just has chairs. And so they moved the chairs around and put them in different configurations. And they actually put small set pieces in the audience. So like at times during both of these shows, there were performers out in the audience standing on these little mini stages and singing. And so that was just cool because you're like really up close. My husband and I actually love theater and we go to theater a lot in Seattle. It's obviously a totally different kind of theater than like what they do on cruise ships. But one thing I appreciate about live performances is that you're actually there with another human and they're doing the performance. And with these bits where they would come out in the audience and sing or do dancing and whatever in the audience, like to me, that just brings something extra to the show. So I really liked that bit of it. Yeah, they're super talented. The sets, the costumes, everything was really cool. And I actually appreciated that because I feel like I've seen some shows on cruise ships before where they did try to do more of a Broadway style musical with a plot, and I couldn't figure out where the plot was going, or it was just dumb or something. Mm-hmm. And in these shows, like, there's no plot that I can understand. If there is one, I don't know. There's no acting or drama or narration to it at all. It's all just singing.
Yeah.
And it's like, by completely getting rid of that part of it, it actually made it better. Because it's in there short, they're only like 40 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we really enjoyed both of those shows. The other show we did go to, we didn't like as much, which is, it was at like 4 p.m, and it was something to do with all the, what we thought it was going to be about was all the crew members in the different countries that they're from. So I thought, well, that'd be cool. And it was also kind of on a sea day, and we didn't have a lot else to do, and it was in the afternoon. So I thought, well, that could be interesting, but that really wasn't what the show was about. Like, they did have a part where they all came out on stage with the different flags of the countries, but the rest of it was all just kind of corny songs. I sort of got the idea of the show, but at the same time, it was like, that show wasn't quite as good. But I would have liked to see more about the crew members and the countries that they're from than like a bunch of corny songs sung by the same performers that we saw before.
How about like music or comedy show? You mentioned that there was Celestial Strings, or the trio was in the atrium there, but any like bands or comedy shows you hit during the 8 nights?
Yeah, we did go to the comedy once. It was one of the PG shows, and it was fun. The comedian saw some kids in the audience and was really playing off the kids, which was kind of fun. He was telling dumb jokes about, like, basically bathroom jokes and stuff, which isn't really necessarily my sense of humor, but it was just fun. Sometimes things on a cruise ship are just fun because you're there and whatever. And the kids were having a lot of fun. I guess he said he was a grandpa. So it was just kind of cute how he was playing off the kids. One venue on this ship that I think is really special is the Havana Bar. Mm-hmm. So, they play Latin music. The lead guy on stage, he always speaks to the crowd in Spanish too, and it seems like the whole crowd speaks Spanish and knows all the songs, and so they're all dancing to the songs. It's just a really nice, like, live venue. I don't know those songs or dance too much, but it's just fun to be in there and, like, be a part of that.
Yeah.
The atrium also has a little stage, so there's always something going on there. If you're just wandering around the ship and you don't know where else to go, like, there's always something going on in the atrium that's kind of fun to watch.
How were the sea days as far as crowds and congestion?
Well, it was full. So it was kind of crowded. And, like I was saying before, I guess I have a high tolerance for crowds. We did notice that, like, when you would go to do trivia or something, you did have to kind of hang around a bit and watch for a table and try to swoop in and grab a table. I always feel like they could do trivia in maybe a little bit bigger venue on that ship. But otherwise, it was okay. It was kind of cold some of the days, so there weren't a lot of people in the pools. There's 3 pools. One of them is the Havana pool, though, so you have to be a part of the Havana. You can get a room in the Havana area, and then those people are the only ones that can use those pools. So there's 2 pools that are open to the public, and hardly anybody was in the pools most of the time because it was a little on the chilly side. But it was warm enough to sit out and lounge in the sun, and there were plenty of loungers. We were just wandering around all the time, like, not having a plan, and we always found somewhere to sit. One thing I love about this ship is that the promenade deck, like, some ships I think are doing away with it, but they actually have a really nice one, and it's actually kind of more expanded than, like, the old school kind, where they have a whole bunch of comfy chairs with sun umbrellas and stuff. And my husband and I end up sitting out there a lot and reading and just chilling out there because it seems a little less busy than some of the other areas, and we can always find a comfortable seat there. And it's a different kind of chair too. It's not like a sun lounger. It's like almost like an armchair, but an outdoor one. So we sit out there a lot. So I interviewed my husband before this, asked him for his points, and he said that he would like to have on this ship an indoor lounge area, kind of like how Holland America has the Crow's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were a couple days when we were at sea, especially the first sea day coming back from Puerto Vallarta, because we were moving really fast and it was a little bit chilly, that it was kind of too cold to sit outside. And so he didn't really feel like there was anywhere indoors that he felt comfortable sitting and reading, because they had kind of taken over the library for the art gallery or the art auctions and stuff.
Yeah.
So
the casino on board, do they have a non-smoking casino, like an annex, like an offshoot from the regular casino now?
Yeah, they do. It's kind of hidden. If you're in the back of the casino, the regular casino, there's, the normal elevators and staircase and stuff. It's around the corner from there. But I did use the non-smoking casino because I don't smoke. I sometimes will use the casino even if it's smoking, but I much prefer it if it's non-smoking. And if Carnival is listening, my home casino went totally non-smoking because they went non-smoking. I think they thought it was going to be temporary for the pandemic. After the pandemic, they never went back. It's still busy as all get out. So yeah, maybe think about switching them. Like, I think it'd be cool if the non-smoking casino was the smoking casino and vice versa. But the non-smoking casino it's obviously a lot smaller than the smoking casino. And it's kind of off to the side. But I did go in there and, play on some slots and, lose my small amount of money that I always lose and then have a good time. The other thing that I will say about the smaller non-smoking casino is you're in a room, you're in a room. Like, all the machines are just lined up against the wall, right? And then there's a few tables in the middle for the table games. So it's not like the same vibe as a full casino. Right. Even the casino that allows smoking. So the smoke, you always ask about like how bad the smoke was. Mm-hmm. I would say it was like medium. Like, it wasn't the worst that I've ever seen. It wasn't great. Because they had the non-smoking casino, that's where I went. But if they didn't have that, I probably would have played in the regular casino for a little bit just because it wasn't too terrible. It does filter out into the atrium a little bit. So all the shops are around there. So like, I think we were standing in front of one of the shops one night watching whatever music was going on in there, and we could really smell the smoke, but we were standing right by the casino. If you went around to the other side of the atrium, you wouldn't smell it. So it was kind of like not great, but not terrible.
Let's talk about your ports of call on this 8-night sailing. So you leave Long Beach, California. You mentioned that it was kind of an opposite one. So your first one went to Cabo first. What did you do there?
So in Cabo, so this was part of why we picked this. We had a full day. So we just kind of, you do have to get a tender ticket. So make sure and watch the schedule. We had to go the day before to one of the dining rooms at like between 8 and 10 in the morning to get the tender ticket. So if you didn't get it, then you missed out and you had to wait for everybody else to get off. But we did get a tender ticket. So we got off with our tender ticket. When you go ashore, it's a tender port. Obviously, you go ashore, there's a pier. All the people who have the Carnival excursions are on the pier getting together with their excursion groups. And then if you don't have one, you go off the pier and there's like a crowd of guys just waiting there to sell you whatever you want. You want a hat, whatever. But there's also excursion guys. And I have heard like in Facebook groups, people find this intimidating, but you should not find this intimidating because they're not going to do anything. You can just walk by them. So we found one of the guys on shore to get a whale watching tour. And so we went out with them on their little boat, and it was just about 11 people, a little boat. There wasn't a lot of narration to this. It was the guy who was narrating, it was also driving the boat. So it wasn't as like enriching as some of them are when you're on a bigger whale watching tour. But we've been on so many whale watching tours. Like we're always going on them because we just really like going out in the boat. And we like seeing the whales and everything, but we don't need all that extra like stuff that comes along with the bigger ones now. So we paid him $40 a piece for this. Some other people have told me, oh, that's too much. I would only pay 20, yada, yada. But we paid Carnival like $100 a piece for one in the past. So to me, it was still a really good deal. The only thing I think that folks would miss out on if they did this versus the Carnival one is just the Carnival one probably was a little more accessible, like if you're in a wheelchair or something. And also on the Carnival one we took in the past, they had like margaritas and they had, a tour guide explaining everything who wasn't also driving the boat. And it was a bigger ship, or it wasn't a ship, it was a boat, but like a bigger boat, and all that kind of stuff. So there's probably a little bit more of a comfort to it. But for us, being on the little boat was actually better for this trip because we already know all this stuff. We don't care about the margaritas and being on the small boat. We actually saw the whales a lot better because you're not behind 50 people who are trying to take a picture. There's only 11 of us, and we saw some whales breaching like right in front of us and stuff. So
Awesome.
That was really, really a nice thing. And the guy also very kindly dropped everyone off wherever they wanted to go. So he took some people to one beach, he took some people to another beach, and then he took us back to the marina.
So after your whale tour, did you get back on the ship?
Oh, we walked around a little bit. We did some souvenir shopping. We kind of talked about maybe getting some food, but in Cabo, all the restaurants, Cabo is very touristy. It's kind of almost like you're in Southern California in terms of the prices and stuff. So they were like, let's just get back on the ship and eat the food we already paid for.
So after Cabo, what was your next port?
The next one was La Paz, and we had never been there before. That was part of why I booked this itinerary. But we ended up not getting off the ship because La Paz is very small, and where you pull into La Paz is actually Pichilingüe or something like that. And it's more of it's like a remote place. I don't even know what else is there. I think it's just the port for ships, and they have a local ferry that ports there too. So to go into the city of La Paz, you have to take this shuttle bus. Or what we were actually planning to do in La Paz was they have some beautiful beaches there. And we were going to go to these beaches, but it was only like 70 degrees. So we scrapped our plans to go to the beach, and we just stayed on the ship. But the other option would be just to go into the town. And I did want to note that I have seen videos on YouTube where people talk about taking this cruise line shuttle that they have into town, and it was free. But on our sailing, it was $10. So just so people know. But still, I thought $10 was a decent price because you're in the middle of nowhere, and your only other option would be a cab. There's nowhere you could like walk to. So
yeah,
a lot of people did do that $10 shuttle into town. That port is smaller and less developed, so they don't have as many like different options to do. I think there were some excursions too. We just stayed on the ship and just kind of enjoyed the ship.
And then what was your third port of call?
We went to Mazatlan. So in Mazatlan, they have a unique thing there called these pulmonías. And a pulmonía is a vehicle. They were apparently they're only in Mazatlan, but they used to be Volkswagens, like Volkswagen Bugs, and they've taken the top off of it, and then they put like some poles and a kind of a cover over it, so it sort of looks like a golf cart, but they're these modified Volkswagens. So that's like just a thing in Mazatlan. You get these Pulmonía tours, and it's a private tour. I reserved mine ahead of time just through this guy on Facebook that has a lot of good reviews in one of the cruise groups. And we just pay him cash. You don't have to pay a deposit ahead of time or anything. So I figured it was safe enough to do it through Facebook. And when you get off the ship in Mazatlan, there's actually a really nice little you have to take it's like a little trolley over to where the actual port activities are. But there's a building where there's a few shops and stuff. And right outside there's a bar. And a lot of people drink and eat there because I think it's cheaper than on the ship. So you have to go through all of that and across the street to meet up with these Pulmonía guys. But we had our own, it was just me and my husband. We had our own guide for the day, and he drove us all around Mazatlan. And we had been there once before, but we only went to like one place there before. So this time we went everywhere. He had some things he was going to show us, but he would also go anywhere we asked him to go. At one point I asked him, if he would take us to like a beach restaurant for lunch, and he took us to one, which I think was like a tourist one. They took all the tourists to, but it was good. It was really, it was good food, and we were by the beach, and it was just a really pleasant time. And eventually we got tired, and so he took us back to the ship.
And then was your last port Puerto Vallarta?
Yeah, so Puerto Vallarta, again, we've been there once before. And this time we did this hop-on, hop-off bus that I found on Viator. So I think this is new because I don't remember it being there when we were there before, or if it was, I didn't know about it. So this hop-on, hop-off bus, I think I paid about 20 to $25 a piece for us to go on this. And it was a little different than, like, in American cities. I think we have these hop-on, hop-off buses where they kind of go in a circuit. And so you can hop on and hop off a bunch of times. So we've done that before in different cities. But this one was a little different. So it was more like a tour. And there were a couple points you could hop off at. But Puerto Vallarta is kind of like a long strip along the ocean. And so really we kind of just stayed on the whole time. Another thing was I didn't get up as early as I planned to because I just didn't feel like it. So we were going to try to go out in the morning, and we ended up going out in the afternoon. But so it goes all the way down the strip. There's the main city part of Puerto Vallarta, and then there's a whole strip of like fancier hotels and stuff along the ocean. And at the very end, there's this place called Mismaloyas, and there's a hotel there, and they would stop there and let people off and back on to go to the beach there. There weren't really a lot of other places that you could really hop off and hop back on. There were a couple spots where they said we could get off for 10 minutes, but don't stay there.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of funny. But they were just different, smaller beaches and stuff. So I found that on Viator, and I do recommend people doing that, but just read all the reviews so you know what you're getting into, because it's not exactly like, what we have in American cities. But it was also nice because we got to sit on top. It was like a double-decker bus. Mm-hmm. So we got to sit on top and just kind of take in the breeze and the sun and, see all the sights of Puerto Vallarta. Then we got back to the cruise terminal, and I kind of was thinking about getting a cab and going somewhere for dinner or something, but we just kind of got cruise brain and just wanted to get back on the ship. So that's what we did.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. So you leave Puerto Vallarta and you're heading back to Long Beach, California. How was your debark process?
It was fine. They do the debark through the app, so they don't have like a million announcements in the morning, which is kind of cool. So a couple days before, they sent you a notification in the app letting you know you should sign up for your debark time. And we always do the self-assist. So we had a later flight, and our flight home was out of LAX. When you fly in and out of Painfield, you kind of have limited options in terms of timing, because I think they just have planes that like leave here in the morning, go down there, and then come back in the evening. Our flight home wasn't until like 6:40 p.m. I took like the latest time possible. We sat around in the morning on the ship drinking coffee and stuff. And then for the day, we decided, originally what I wanted to do was kind of like a Los Angeles city tour of some kind. We changed our mind about that. And we decided just to go across to the Queen Mary. For folks that don't know, you leave the Panoramas, the port there. The Queen Mary is like right next door. So like you literally walk through the parking lot into the parking lot of the Queen Mary. And so we booked a tour and we did the tour, but then you're also, when you do that, you're welcome to just hang around the Queen Mary if you want, as long as you want. We went over there. They also checked our luggage for us, which was really nice. So we didn't have to, that was one of the reasons I did it. So we didn't have to drag our luggage around all day. So they checked our luggage. We did our tour. And then we just kind of walked around the Queen Mary. You can walk around the decks outside. There's a lot of displays that anybody can see. You don't have to have a special access or anything, about the history of the ship and everything. And we also ate lunch in their cafe, which the food there was surprisingly good. I don't know why I'm surprised, but it was good. They also had a brunch that people were doing, but the brunch was really expensive. I think it was like $98 or something. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do the brunch. There was the brunch was in kind of like a big ballroom or something, but a lot of people were coming just for the brunch, and they were like all dressed up and stuff. I guess it's a thing to go to that brunch. But we just stayed in the regular cafe and just had I think I had like a club sandwich or something. Bought some souvenirs, just hung out long enough to where it made sense to go to the airport, and then we just went to the airport. I think that they did some kind of refurbishment right after the pandemic, because the last time we sailed on the Panorama, when I was looking into pre-cruise hotels, people were talking about the Queen Mary, but it was closed at that time. And I think it was closed because they were doing a little bit of a refresh to it or something. But I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, a lot of people, so I was also in a Facebook group for our sailing, and quite a few people did stay overnight at the Queen Mary the night before the cruise too, which would be an excellent option. Because you literally just have to walk across the parking lot to get to the ship in the morning. I mean, I took pictures of the Panorama from the Queen Mary. It's that close.
Yeah.
One guy was posting a lot in the Facebook group about, he was just spending his evening just walking around the Queen Mary, taking pictures and looking at all the historical exhibits that they have and all that kind of stuff. And since they don't use the ship as a ship anymore, you can go and even look at some of the working parts of it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely. And Colin was saying if we take a cruise out of Long Beach again, I think the only other tip would just be the weather. We do this cruise in the winter because Seattle's weather is extremely dreary and dark and rainy and chilly. So we don't mind that we're getting on a cruise ship and it's only 70 degrees and we didn't go to the beach because it was 70 degrees. That none of that bothers us, because at least we're out in the sun. And, it's not raining 24/7, but if you're expecting it to be like a Caribbean cruise in January, it's not. Like, the only place that we were where you really would have been comfortable at the beach was Puerto Vallarta. So if you really want to cruise to a beach vacation, you probably want to do this cruise like in February or March, I would think, rather than January. Yeah, I think that's the only tip that we haven't actually already talked about.
Well, looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this trip for y'all?
Colin wanted to mention that he really enjoyed all the excursions we did on this sailing were through local purveyors. So we didn't do any of the Carnival excursions. The Pulmonia one in Mazatlan was really, really special because we had the one guy all day long who was like our guide. And he was very personable and really explained. By the end of it, he was basically trying to sell us on real estate and moving there. Like, he really loved his city, and he really wanted to explain to us. We also asked him, because a lot of people are concerned about sailing to Mazatlan because the State Department put out this warning about Sinaloa, which Sinaloa is the Mexican state that Mazatlan is part of because of the Sinaloa cartel, right? Yeah. So a lot of people in our Facebook group were like, oh, should we even get off the ship? Is it safe? Blah, blah, blah. We felt totally safe with this guy. We felt safe. You don't want to go inland, apparently. So we asked him about this because we were like, why is everybody saying it's not safe? And he's like, you don't want to go to the other cities in Sinaloa because the cartel is really dominant there. But in Mazatlan and the tourist areas, like, it's very safe. So we felt good about that. And I think my most significant highlight is just being able to chill. Like, there's something about this cruise and the ship, and maybe it's just the West Coast or the people or whatever. Even though it was busy and crowded sometimes, everybody was just really chill. And this itinerary lets you really relax because you never have to worry about, an all aboard time at 1 p.m. or rushing from place to place. Like, you have nice full days in each port. And there's plenty to do on sea days. So for me, because I have a really busy job where I have to be really focused and disciplined all the time. Last year was kind of wild for me too, because I went from a job that I really didn't like and I got a new job. And so I was learning a new job and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm in a better place now, but I just needed that time to like really just chill out. And this particular cruise just let me really chill out. And I came home just so much more relaxed. So I don't know if that's a highlight, but to me, that was kind of like the biggest takeaway that I took from it.
How would you compare the value to what you paid?
That's a hard question for me because I've cruised a lot, but I haven't actually paid for that many cruises because he used to work for Princess. We used to always cruise for free. And I've somehow gotten a couple of other free cruises over time too. But I think the value was really good, like, especially because, now, I will say this, the food the food, you do have to be a little bit, in my opinion. Now, my husband and I are really into food, and we go out to restaurants a lot. So it really depends on your perspective. Some people had absolutely no complaints about the food, and I would say the food is like a B to a B minus. Like, you kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to eat, in my opinion. So that part, but having said that, the food is plentiful, and I certainly never went hungry, and I certainly never had a problem finding, like, if there was a problem with a meal, getting a resolution to it or anything like that.
Yeah.
The cabin, like I said before, is one of the biggest reasons why we did choose to cruise with Carnival again on the Panorama, because the cabin size for what you pay for it, because the Ocean View cabins aren't that expensive. Like, they're just a little bit more than the interiors. And the cabin size for what you pay for it, I think, is a super good value. And especially with the sofa and the extra shower. I mean, when you cruise in an interior, usually you don't get a sofa or anywhere else to sit besides, like, our last cruise we took, we were on the Holland America Rotterdam, and we were in an interior room, and the room was really nice, but, like, it gets old when you're with your husband, like, and the only place you have to sit is on the bed, you know?
Yeah.
So the cabin itself, I think, is a super amazing value. Having the 8 nights versus the 7 nights, I'm not sure why, but it just seemed like so much more of a vacation.
Well, that extra sea day helps you decompress before coming back to reality.
Yeah, and I think having the full days in each port. So, like, most of the port days we had something like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 in port. In Puerto Vallarta, we actually had 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., which is amazing, because the Puerto Vallarta is the one port where there's always, like, things to do that you leave on the table. Like, there's so much to do there. I actually think our next vacation may be just to Puerto Vallarta because of that. Because every time we've cruised there, we've always felt like, oh, there's way more that we wanted to do, but we just got tired. We were like, oh, let's go back on the ship and, like, have a piece of pizza and see how we feel. And then, of course, you never leave the ship again.
Right. Well, in closing here, Angie, your final thoughts of Carnival Panorama.
Yeah. It's, it's a nice ship. It's affordable. It's not, I think some people see Carnival as, like, low rent. It's not low rent at all. It's really a nice ship. Very chill vibes. One thing I did want to highlight was the technology on the ship, I think, is really good. Like, their app is really slick now. Like, you can do so many things on the app. I really appreciated that we could do our dinner reservation for the dining room on the app every night. I mean, it's not a reservation. You're just, like, checking in. Instead of going to stand in a line and giving your name to a maitre d' or whatever, you're checking in on the app, which is really nice because our cabin was not that far from the dining room. So we would just sit in our cabin until it would say, your table is ready, or you have 10 minutes or something like that. So that was super nice. Doing the debarkation on the app, having all the activities. Now, they did start printing the fun times again. And so we did get a printed fun times every time. But honestly, we never looked at it because we were just looking at the app. The Wi-Fi worked really well. We were able to do our player games and do our Facebooks and all that kind of stuff. I even checked my work email, even though I said I wasn't going to. So I really like what they've done with the technology options on the ship. And I think the last point I wanted to say was just, there's a lot of features on the ship we actually didn't even talk about today because my husband and I just didn't do any of them. But there's, like, water slides, and there's this little bike thing that people ride around in the sky, and pools and hot tubs and movies under the stars, all that stuff. Great options on the ship. We just didn't even do them because we were just lazy. And we just kind of got into our groove and, like, read our Kindles and ate food and, chilled out.
Well, it's your vacation. You can do whatever in the heck you want to, right?
Yeah. My favorite part of vacation, because life is, like I was saying, for me, I have to be disciplined in my work, but also life is like a steady stream of alarm clocks and notifications, I think. Like, we all have all these devices that are always wanting our attention, and people and teams and all that. So for me, the best part of going on a cruise is just checking out and not having to worry about what time it is, unless you're worrying about, like, your dinner reservation. And so for me, this ship and this cruise, really did that for me. And I didn't address this at all, but neither of us drank any alcohol on this cruise. My husband doesn't drink alcohol at all, and I very rarely drink anymore because it just, as I've gotten older, it just doesn't agree with me as much. So we also didn't do the drink package, but we just bought, a few mocktails and like sodas and stuff. There were plenty of non-alcoholic options on the ship, which is something he's always concerned about. So, we were just kicking back with our ginger ales and having a good time.
We've been talking with Angie about her 8-night cruise on Carnival Panorama down to the Mexican Riviera out of Long Beach, California. Angie, always good talking to you. And thank you so much for sharing your vacation with us.
Yeah, you too, Doug. I always like talking to you too. And I love listening to your podcast.
The world is constantly changing. Your place for news is still the same. Online and on demand at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,